Build to where you're going, not to where you are, because that's so much of stop and go. When you're scared to grow, you're not going to grow. I'd rather just go for it. Just go for it, because what happens if we make it? We're already ready. We're ready for it. So that's why we went from 50K or 70K to 1.1, 2.5, 3, 13, just rocking, you know.
This is Biz Ninja Entrepreneur Radio with your host, Tyler Jorgensen.
Welcome out to Biz Ninja Entrepreneur Radio. I am your host, Tyler Jorgensen. Today, we have a really cool guest, both from just being a cool human, but also just an amazing product and business and really an empire that's being built. And just a cool crossover of spaces. I just love everything about what's going on here with Kris Dehnert and Dugout Mugs, what you're doing. And I'm excited to share what you're doing, your story, and all of that with the audience here at Biz Ninja. Welcome out to the show, Kris.
What's up, man? Thanks for having me out. I love Biz Ninja. I think there was a company along the way. I think it was Social Media Ninja or something I used to have when I first got back involved. So I was like, oh yeah, Ninja's where I belong.
That's it. I love it. Yeah, it's been a brand of mine for like 15 years now. We started the show over 15 years ago, and super excited to have you on the show. I've been aware of your product and loosely aware of the startup story for years, just because I think it's such an awesome idea. I mean, these are mugs made out of baseball bats, and just such a cool crossover of like passions and things, and probably one of the coolest gifts people get. So how did this happen?
Well, it depends on how far you want to go back. I mean, I think the turning point was back in 2000, early 2000s. I was opening gyms. I was opening Gold's gyms on the gym industry, and a buddy of mine, Mike, and I, we ended up bouncing over into the real estate industry right at 2008, which not the best time to do it, but we were flipping short sales, so it made sense. But all these things, just in hindsight, it's what a beautiful path, right? And one thing led to another, and I ended up in and around social media. And who I am at my core, my dad was a car salesman, my mom, business, all this kind of stuff. So I was a people person, and social allowed me to do one-to-many. What I could do very well one-to-one, social let me do one-to-many. And back in 2008, this new website called Facebook, or give or take a year or two there, came out, and I was using it in the gym industry. Then I really rocked it in the real estate side, and then several names that probably several people on here know. I was the back end of all their social media, because I could do what they could do better than they could do it. And so they're like, dude, we'll just hire you. And we started cranking, and it was great. And what I realized is that control the people, you control everything, right? And so the pages and all the Facebook pages and Teespring, I was the OG back at Teespring days. And then I realized it's like, okay, I just kept going and going, which is part of my story too. I just kept grabbing for more, and I just the greed and the chase and the money and this and that. Now, how this came to be was in the midst of all that. We made all this money with Teespring and lost it in restaurants and in the cannabis space, and like everywhere you could, like I was in tech with cannabis, or the restaurant. I had no business being in that, but it really came down to a health issue that I had, simple as rupturing an appendix. But I didn't go to the hospital. I was so busy being bulletproof and untouchable, I didn't go to the hospital. It nearly killed me with a brand new baby at home, which was really a turning point in my life. And as I'm laying there in the bed and praying to get me out of this, the whole cliche, I was like, send me somebody who needs my skills, needs my talents to and something I can have fun with. I can explain it to my kids easily. They'll be proud of me, like all the things. And I got a call from a guy, Randall, who turned a baseball bat barrel into a mug. And he's like, hey, I want this cool idea. You want to check it out? And that was back in 2016. We got together 2017, and $56 million later, here we are. Sold a bunch of mugs. So obviously that's 7 years and 7 minutes, but that's the gist of it, is how we got going. One idea, and just having, what it really was. I tell you this, when you almost lose everything, you're not scared of anything.
Yeah.
And fear is this crippling thing.
But you had been, and to use a baseball analogy, like you'd been swinging for the fences, right? It wasn't like you weren't playing in the entrepreneurial space. Like you were doing amazing things. Gyms are not low risk, right? I've owned gyms as well. Real estate, you and I both were in, that has some real massive risk. Right. So but you're saying you had fear before that?
Not a lot. Because I didn't come from
So
much.
what was the shift?
I didn't come from much either, right?
Sure.
I think I was busy being a warrior, right? And not as focused on alignment with who I am and what I really want, right? And fear of having nothing again, or whatever that fear was. I mean, there's always going to be fear, and I think though I never wish for bad things to happen to people. Sometimes they need that, and me getting sick is the best thing that never happened. That ever happened and that never happened, because I made it through it. Obviously, here I am, and
Right.
Family's good, and I'm good, and the business is good. But what it really did is it realigned my focus to the lifestyle by design, right? Like I work from home. I took my daughter to lunch yesterday, right? And when I met her at school, it was her birthday of the weekend, so I brought her lunch, and we just sit there. I can do whatever I want. And at the end of the day, freedom is a currency, along with several others. But that's one that's really important to me. And I was chasing a lot of things, trying to impress the people that don't matter. You've heard it from several thought leaders, but it's that. I lived through that, and
Sure.
It's the best thing I ever did.
So when you and Randall partner up, you start scaling this idea. What were some of the first moments where you're like, this has some real potential? Like, what were those indicators that were coming at you that you just knew this was the right signal?
Before I even started.
Okay.
So I remember we sat out on my back porch, and I remember him saying, he's like, man, one day maybe we could do $1 million in sales. And I was like, dude, if that's all we're doing, I'm already done, kind of idea. But what I related it to is Teespring. When I was doing all the print on demand T-shirts, we did like over $20 million in T-shirt sales. We didn't even have to touch them. It was all drop shipped. You remember, like, it was crazy days. But all it was a blank canvas. So you had to identify an interest, put it on a blank canvas, target it to the right person, right? Like, that's all we did. And I said, well, this is just another blank canvas, except this one, the market's not going to get saturated, right? It's because I own the IP, the patents, the trademarks, things like that. So I kind of knew it was going to come out of the gates on fire. And, that's so I now, to the extent where we did it 3 consecutive years in the Inc. 5000, sharing stages with legends, governors and presidents buying my mug. I mean, I didn't think it was going to get to that point. But I also don't sell myself short either. You know what I mean? Like, I've kind of learned to not be overly surprised by things.
Sure.
I just believe I'm supposed to be in every room I'm in. I believe everything. I have talked things into reality. Like
I love that.
Have.
What about, if the indicators were strong right off the bat, right? The optimism that was there, the potential was there. What was one of the first major obstacles that you guys faced, and how'd you overcome that?
So again, with two guys with very differing beliefs systems. I've had several companies. This was Randall's first thing out of the gate. He was very reserved, and I'm just a shotgun. I'm a raccoon on meth. Like, I'm crazy. Let's go. I know what to do. I know what it feels like. I know where we're going. Right? He's like, oh my God, just hold on. I'm rowing a boat here, and I'm like trying to attach 400s on the back of it. And so that was a little bit of the first conflict, but I showed him. We broke the system immediately. Whatever system he had spent all this time doing, we just crashed it. And he's like, all right, well, there goes that. It's like, yeah, so let's go bigger. We went and we did a quick raise from a friends and family. Snagged a quick $250,000. That's all we needed. And then it was self-funded and bootstrapped from there. But I think, the first thing, as soon as we, and the other, Karen, who's now back on board with us, our very first employee ever.
That's cool.
Like 9 years ago. We were like 1,000 orders behind because we just popped, right? And we're like, hey, we don't have a customer service team. Like, what? Like, I'll do mugs today, you do calls today, and everybody's like, where the hell's my stuff? You know?
Yeah.
And so I was like, hey, maybe we should get a customer service girl, right? That was a big one. And Karen stepped in and just like rock star status, and she ran with us for several years, and then took a hiatus for a few. But she recently came back earlier this year. She's like, I miss you guys. I want to get back and find a place and enroll, and which we love having her. But like that was another big indicator. It's like you have 1,000 people that are pissed, and you're just getting started. You're like, well, this is a good and bad thing, right?
Yeah.
We need to sort that out pretty quick.
That makes sense. I think a lot of people who are just getting started in e-commerce or selling or physical products in general don't realize just how big markets are. And one like math equation or like kind of test thing I like to do is just look at how many baseballs MLB goes through on a day where most teams are playing, like number of games, and I'm like, then you have to go backwards. They had to source all that, all that product had to be manufactured, had to be made, all the ingredients, all the leather had to be found, the stitching had to be found, it had to be manufactured. And that's just MLB. Then you go into college, and you go into little leagues, and you go into, all the other stuff. And so when I look at what you guys are doing, these, products made from baseball bats, there is a part of me that's like, was there even enough bats for you guys to do, or like to cut up? Or were you cutting them up? Are they fabricating them from scratch? All those things you have to figure out. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You have to figure all this stuff out.
Yeah, I mean, you can't you can't follow a path for something that hasn't been invented or done yet.
Right.
Randall invented this thing back like in 2014, and then he shelved it for a couple of years. Like, oh, I'll try that thing, But like, so there wasn't an exact path to follow. I knew e-com, I knew licensing, I knew ads a bit. So we kind of knew where to go, but it was just kind of projection. I think this is, be prepared to pull quick triggers, move fast, but don't pull the trigger just yet, right? Like, it's hurry up and wait. All that stuff's real at inception. Now we can forecast way better with that. But one of the biggest things we did was, we had a very, very small little bat company ripping these things out. And, that's great when you're doing 12 a day.
Right.
When you're doing 900 a day, that ain't going to fly, right? We got pallets, coming into our main warehouse here because we're all in North America. Most of our stuff's in the States, actually. But when these big pallets are showing up, there's 3,000 mugs on those things, and you're getting one a week or, kind of thing. So it's new systems. It's systems at scale. And when that scales, then manufacturing scales. You can't do it with one laser, you need 15. You can't do it with one person, you need 12. So I think... but what the magic is, especially in business, is Wayne Gretzky. Skates where the puck's going, right? Build to where you're going, not to where you are, because that's so much of stop and go. If you try to, let's just hold on to $20 more here and $20 more there. Like, I'm not saying don't be frugal. That's stupid. But like, when you're scared to grow, you're not going to grow.
Yeah.
And I'd rather just go for it.
Yep.
Just go for it, because what happens if we make it? We're already ready. We're ready for it. So that's why we went from 50K or 70K to 1.1, 2.5, 3, 13, just rocking,
Yeah. And I'm sure you broke supply chains, you broke suppliers, you probably broke all your operational systems multiple times. I feel like a lot of people in the startup. Oh, wow.
We planned. We got the big guy in place early so that we didn't do that. Because as soon as I got in, within 4 months, we broke everything. And that's like, I'm not doing that crap again. Right. That slowed me down. And if there's
so you broke it right the first time. Yeah. So
the first pivot was the last pivot.
Well, that right there, I think, is what differentiates you guys from a lot of differentiate you from a lot of entrepreneurs, right? A lot of people just are only taking one step at a time, not looking 10 steps forward, saying, okay, how do we not do this again? It's okay to you got to build a parachute on the way down. You got to take action. You got to build, you got to move, right? You don't want to be paralyzed in an action because you can't find the perfect step. But at the same time, you need to be looking forward. Like you said, really believing and trusting that like you're going to figure it out and get there. Yeah. So when so many people, they'll break something and then they're just back to breaking it again in 6 months. So as you guys have scaled, what was one of the bigger skills that you did have to learn? Because you came in with a lot of experience.
Well, this is the largest partnership I had. Now, I bought him out a couple years ago, but oh, sorry, man.
No worries.
Here.
All good.
I think the biggest thing that I ran into was the partnership. This was the biggest partnership I had to this point, and very different belief systems. Right, one's an introvert, one's an extrovert. Now that's also what made it magical, right? It's what made it work because we could run in parallel lanes, and the one thing we did match on was just grit, grind, and go power, right? So that worked out. But learning how to consider other people's opinions, on a higher level. It's like, hey, let's save money. Let's fire people. I'm like, that feels icky. I don't want to do like that. I don't think that way. Like, let's sell our way out of this problem. He's like, well, we can't do that. Look at the numbers. Right. So like there was that kind of stuff that we dealt with a little bit. And at scale, those problems are scaled with it. And you're talking about bigger numbers and being predictive on inventory, and you're writing $150,000 checks. A lot of people don't know what that feels like, right? And
Right.
you gotta just being predictive and projections, and a lot of the stuff I did before. I really kind of cut my teeth in the POD world with the shirts and stuff, and then there was no inventory, there was no carrying cost, right. So I think that the rest of the stuff kind of just came natural to me. The sales, marketing, promotion, branding, like that's just my wheelhouse, man. And my network, I have a really nasty network. So like those things make most things go really, really well. But it was the stuff I didn't really know about. Right. And also the ads, the paid advertising, like back in the day when it was just push and play, not pay to play, we were just raking money, right? Like the POD world or the rubber bracelets or fan pages when they weren't like the algorithm wasn't just totally robbing you. Shout out Mark Zuckerberg. But like, it was crazy, right? And we had to learn that. And that along the way with the CAC, the customer acquisition cost, or CPA, whatever acronym you use, like that fluctuation and understanding how to monitor and manage and throttle that was a learning curve. There was, 1 year where I think, it was 9.5 million top line, but we didn't even make 10%. Right. It was busted because somebody wasn't paying close enough attention to the profitability of the paid traffic and then not understanding seasonality and cyclical buying habits. That was another one. It took us about 3 years in before we did a deep dive on the customer avatar. Right. And that's a really big one. Sometimes people are too eager to get going and not measured twice, cut once kind of thing. So understanding who we were talking to. It wasn't the dude perfect guys. It was the Rachel Rays, right? It was the Oprahs. It was the, people like a 42-year-old woman is the number one buyer of our stuff.
Yeah. I think I really like that you said some people are too eager to get going. And I think sometimes there's this weird paradox where you have to be willing to start imperfect. But once you have something tested out and you've at least, hey, this has legs, then you need to slow down and think in depth and in the future, right? And there's this weird paradox where some people overthink at the beginning so they never start. And then there's another group that underthinks the entire time. And you've got to find like, when do I just take action and when do I be strategic? And I think what you just shared showed some of that, like the switching that you have to do between action taking and, really having foresight and insight into your business.
Asking better questions. Mm-hmm. Learn to ask better questions to yourself. And now with the integration of AI, is it a foolproof plan? No, but you can certainly lean into AI. What questions am I not asking? Look at this P&L. What am I missing? Where are the red flags? Use it. It's there. Why not? It's a tool, right? So I think that could certainly help people that are sometimes you don't know what questions to ask yourself, right?
Right.
And that can kind of help facilitate that a little bit by
Sure.
asking better questions, and then having if then scenarios. If this, then that. If this, then that. Right. So it's not a straight line, because those, I can't stand those types of people anyway. They're just so black and white.
Yep.
They can't be fluid. It's a terrible thing. Like what happened with COVID, or pick your pandemic, right? Like whatever they throw at us. But like this kind of thing is, and you're stuck in your ways. You can't move. You can't pivot. You're not fluid.
Right.
So if this, then that. If this, then that. And if it's like, hey, if we can hit over 2, we scale to this. But if we hit under 2, it's going to this. It's almost like one of those old school. Like I got whiteboards all over my office. You can't see them. But remember the whiteboard sessions you do, and it has this box with all the grid and the funnel, right? It looks like a funnel.
Yeah.
That's what this is. If this, then, if then, if then, if then, and kind of put a tentative plan together and fail fast, fall forward.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. So with Dugout Mugs, and I know we're going to touch on a couple of the other projects that you have as well. I know that you said right away you knew that it had opportunity, it had potential.
Yeah.
But what were some of the really big wins that you've had along the way that just were those signals that, holy cow, this is something special?
The celebrities and the athletes that get on board and we don't pay them. So every mug behind me is a celebrity or an athlete or an influencer or somebody that I've collaborated with, and we don't do the pay to play influencer deal. We maybe affiliate stuff, but I think I think what it was is I was maybe 6 months in, and I was backstage in LA at the Beverly Hilton, and I'm giving Ken Griffey Jr. a Lifetime Achievement Award. I'm like, what just happened here, right? Now that was partially really cool product, really opening up, getting people's attention, and the other one was me being me and just getting my way in and get a foot in the door, and then an elbow, then a head, and next thing you know, I'm backstage, right? So it was a cool combo. The other one was the winter meetings, and I know if Randall ever watches this, he would agree. The very first winter meetings, and the winter meetings, for those who don't know, is like at the end of the year after the season, all the coaches and teams and players and the execs, they get together and they just jam and trades and all kinds of stuff happens. But there's a trade show, and we set up a trade show booth, and we went all out, right? It was a little 10 by 10, but it was all handmade wood. It was beautiful. And we had a line so long to get into our booth that it was falling into other people's booths, and they're laughing because they have to keep account of who comes in their booth. And they're like, we've had more people in our booth from you than our whole day, right? Just the overflow. And it was hot. The players were coming in, the execs were coming in, the guys were walking around with our mugs. They had them on the desks for ESPN. Like, it was badass. It was really cool. And at
That's
that
cool.
point, it's like, wow, this is something really neat, really fun, really cool that people, I think it says something about them, right? It's an identifier for people. And that's when it really kind of triggered us, like, oh, we got something here.
And I like that you guys have expanded, not just the same mugs, but you've got a whole host of products and stuff now. I just really encourage anyone who is looking for a cool gift for themselves or for someone else or a corporate gift to check out dugoutmugs.com. You guys just do really cool stuff. And I want to make sure we touch on some of the other things you're doing. And two of the things I want to talk on is just lifestyle by design, making sure you build the life you love. And I want to talk on some of your other businesses. So let's talk big golf. How'd you get into golf and what's going on there?
Well, I like to do the things I like to do. I like to have a beer every now and again. I like to be around, watch baseball. I like to golf. I like to have cigars. I like to be with my friends, and these are the things you can do with your friends. So, I got into golf for it's almost the same answer as building a lifestyle by design, right? My check boxes, if you will, how do I analyze a deal? There's probably deal analysts out there listening, right? How do I analyze a deal? Can I play with my friends? Can I explain it to my kids? Will they be proud of me? Is it experiential? Can I leverage my network to make it bigger, better? Things like that are the questions that I ask. And golf is one of them. Yeah, it's fun. It's experiential. I can play with my friends, literally. I can leverage my network to make it better. I'm already making celebrity mugs for these MLB guys, and they're doing golf tournaments. Well, now I have a golf ball company. golf balls turned into bottle openers, cigar holders. It's very novelty. So it's a very similar space. And then also, can I leverage what I currently have going on to make it better? Well, I have 900,000 plus customers with Dugout. I have a big warehouse, 10,000 square feet. I have lasers that can laser etch people's, color logos for their business on the golf balls. So, it was able to duplicate, right? I could consolidate and double the value of what we were already doing with our systems and processes and people. And I was like, yeah, that makes a ton of sense. So, I brought that in a couple of years ago.
That's cool. And if, so many people build a life or a business that steals from their life, right? And to me, business and life are not supposed to be this thing that one has to be destroyed for the other to win, right? And so how do you make sure you get to have the life that you love while still running these businesses that are really substantial? Like you said, you hit Inc. 5000 a few times, you're doing millions in revenue, you got employees and teams and people dependent on you. How do you manage it all?
Priorities. I think, like I said, 2015, I got shook pretty good and all shook up, and I reprioritized things, and you realize what's non-negotiable. And for me, I don't believe that like there's work and life. It's all life, and just sometimes you're working. Like sometimes things are good, sometimes things aren't good. You aren't one or the other. I feel like I had a talk one time where it was about currency. You never own it. You never have money. You have a turn with it. You never have good. You have a turn with it. You never have bad. You have a turn with it. And for me, it was that, right? Like, I just want to keep having as many turns as I can, doing something that is fun, invigorating, exciting, fulfilling, right? Acquiring some kind of currency that's not cash money. Now, oftentimes, if you chase happy and not money, you get both, right? And I think that's kind of the place in my life where I'm at now. Anybody that's give advice. I was talking at a school the other day, like, chase the happy, not the money, right? Because if you do it right, you get both of them. But if you have to only get one, I'd rather be happy, right? Because life is short, man. And
for sure,
I think that's in that kind of frame on looking at things is what allowed me to reprioritize. And I think I tell folks all the time to reflect, because if you understand what is important to you, and we talked about at the very beginning that success is unique, right? It's unique. So you have to know what it looks like and feels like and smells like and tastes like to you. And then every decision that comes on your desk every day, it's an easy yes or no, because it either takes you to where you want to go or it doesn't, and just that, stuff just flying at you and you're like, swipe left, swipe right. Yep. No. And no is a really powerful and wonderful word. People are like, oh, hey, what about this? You can make a lot of money. I'm like, yeah, but you're kind of a POS. Like, no, I'm good.
Right.
It's not somebody I want to work with. It's not a system.
Sure.
My kids won't be proud of me if they find out what I'm doing, right? Like, so when you really put those things in, you solidify those things, those pillars in your life, priorities, and then it kind of builds itself.
Yeah.
And you don't lose until you quit. You can be losing. You just don't lose. Just don't quit. And if you're enjoying it, you don't want to quit, right? Like, the last 2 years have not been fabulous. Right? It's been a rebuild. I bought a guy out and I had to rebuild a lot of things, break down a lot of things. But, I'm still up to 1 and I'm jamming and I'm wake up on fire at 8, 7, get the kids to school. Like, I'm not going to quit. So I'm not going to lose. Right? And I think it all kind of just fits together like that. For me, at least.
Yeah, I love that. And you mentioned something really cool earlier. That is that your life is all life, just sometimes you're working. So what's one item on your personal bucket list that you're going to accomplish in the next 12 months, the non-working parts of life?
The non-working part of life, I want to start playing the guitar. I have one over there. It's already got it. So hopefully we can start doing that pretty soon.
Love it.
And I want to so I used to be a trainer when I worked at the gym. So getting back in and probably drop about 30 pounds. Which I've already started that journey.
Cool.
It's already working. Started that about a month ago. So yeah, those are two things that I have in my crosshairs. I literally look at this guitar all the time. Um, Getting traveling, I want to get down to a few. My wife and I have traveled a lot. I've taken the kids a lot of places, but keep that momentum up
Awesome.
because those young years are fleeting.
For
So
sure.
continuing making memories with the kids, and I don't really have anything specific on that agenda, but could
That's
be
all right, man. That's a good list.
yeah.
Well,
But I mean,
Kris,
you know what I want to do in the next 12 months?
let's hear
Keep
it.
doing the same thing I've been doing for the last 12 months.
Okay, there it is. You're on a good path. No need to change it, right? Well, Kris, super appreciate you coming out. Hope everyone goes and checks out Dugout Mugs and sees, how amazing the product is. And, you can just search for Kris Dehnert because he's out there. He's made himself present. So find him and learn more about him. But thank you for sharing so much of your story here with my Biz Ninjas. And to all my Biz Ninjas, wherever you're listening, watching, or tuning in, it's your turn to go out and do something.